I first saw Drive last summer, I couldn't imagine how much the film would mean to me. After all, it was fantasy, but for a new generation. Neo-noir, draped in neon, ultra-violent, but also cool. Then again, there was an element of self-examination, something that I had to look closely at. It seemed to portray the man as a guardian. Of course, after a few viewings of the film, I had learned that this was some sort of waxing pseudo-intellectualism, and it was draped also in hypermasculinity. As I looked more into Nicholas Winding Refn's films, I found that they all had this element. I'm speaking, of course, of 3 films, the most popular and the most critically acclaimed of his films. They're a series that came out within 2 or 3 years of each other. I'm referring to Drive from 2011, Bronson from 2008, and Only God Forgives from 2013. All these films, for one reason or another, involve masculine traits being immutably inseparable from the acts of violence and its use in maintaining power in the form of a hierarchy. With my presentation, I want to look at these 3 films in a way that portrays not only their purpose in creating these hierarchies, but also the end result of violence being applied at its most brutal and its most primal. Things that start off cool don't end cool, and it's all because of the hypermasculinity of Nicholas Winding Refn's films. The prisoner Bronson, the criminal driver, or the martial arts expert cannot overcome a certain aspect which becomes their tragic flaw, and that tragic flaw is immutably related to their masculine construct, particularly in the ways of violence and domination. For that reason, I want to look very closely at select scenes where the violence is at its peak, and see if I can use what I've learned in the film theory class to figure out exactly why and how it's proving to be effective as a hypermasculine fantasy, but also a stark reality.